Okay, girl, if you drop off your husband at a mountain to go hiking with his hiking club friends and you see him roll up one of his pants legs ever so slightly as he approaches the mountain, girl, he cheating on you. So as I mentioned in another video, Korea toggles between like first and second place in Asia for cheating. It's like cheating paradise. So many avenues to cheat. There are specific groups that use hiking and hiking clubs for cheating. They have their own communities, lingo, like behaviors, levels. It's crazy. And this one lady submitted her story to Edo Boo Boo and it is juicy. The gossip is salivating. People are cheating on the mountain.
Let it bounce.
Hello, friends and family. This is Megan Wood, aka 저는 미국 사람입니다. Okay, right into it. So these club meetings that people have where they all get together in groups to go hiking in Korea are called 산악회. And you know, obviously all of them are not meant for cheating. But if your partner is a part of a 산악회 and they go a lot, then you really gotta find out, is this a real 산악회 or is this a cheating 산악회? Because apparently it's a big thing. We'll get into more details about how this club works as we share the story. Okay, there's a lady, let's just call her Jane, and we'll call her husband John. And her husband have one daughter, Yaden. She's not in the story, so we don't need to give her a pseudo name. So Jane is a housewife. She really enjoys her life. She doesn't mind that her husband is a part of a 산악회. They typically go hiking once a week. The hiking group that her husband is a part of, actually he is the one who manages it. Because she's a housewife, you know, she always makes sure that she unpacks her husband's things. So one day when he came home after meeting with his hiking group, he just took off his shirt in the living room, put his bag down, turns around to go in the bathroom. And then Jane sees on John's back, okay, this is John, someone's holding him, scratch the back like that kind of scratch. So Jane asked to John, 뭐야 그 상처? It looks like you have scratches on your back, fingernail scratches. John was like, oh no, on the mountain today, I just fell over, you know, trying to catch a rabbit and I scratched my back like on some bushes. So Jane is like, who hunts for rabbits on a hiking trip? And he's like, oh, well, the rabbit was pretty. I just wanted to go catch it. So then he went into the bathroom and she picked up his clothes off of the floor and she noticed something interesting about them. There's no funky smell. Now, I know Korean people typically don't sweat and don't need deodorant, but like, if you've been hiking all day, there should be some semblance of sweat on these clothes and there ain't. So she starts to get a little bit like, okay, but she let it go. So then she skips in her story to later when one of her friends came to visit and she opened the fridge to give her friend a drink and her friend sees all of these like juices and like all of these little drinks. Are you opening a store? And she says, you know, these are things left over from my husband's hiking club. And one of the people sells like health juice. So every month she orders like a supply of like health juice. So she wound up offering her friend a drink and the friend looks at it and is like, oh, you know, these are drinks that you could find like in the love motels. But then Jane is like, 예린이 아빠가 단 거 그렇게 좋아하지 않은데. But then at that moment, Jane gets a call from the hospital. They said, your husband John has fell over on the mountain. He's hurt. He's in the emergency room. You need to come right now. So Jane goes to the emergency room. 여보! Runs over to her husband. His hiking pants are all dirty. He's visibly been beating up, sort of cuts on his face. His arm is like in a splint. 얼마나 다친 거야? How could you fall off the mountain? No, don't worry. It's not that bad, the husband says. But then just then the doctor comes over. You know, he just sprained his wrist. Luckily, his injuries aren't that bad, but his little sister, she's hurt a lot more, so she will actually have to have, you know, some more exams. Jane said, what little sister? He's the only child. So she went to the next curtain, opened it, and there's somebody there, presumably a harlot. But Jane knows who she is. The girl's name is Haiti. So it turns out that she met Haiti about a month ago when she was dropping her husband off to meet with his hiking club people. She was apparently a new member, but immediately the vibe was a little bit off. Haiti was throwing like some subtle shade when she first met the wife. She was like, 매니저님 와이프 어떤 분이신지 너무 궁금했는데 이렇게 생겼구나. 포장하시다고요. 젊었을 때는. Shade. So Jane did not like her, and rightfully so. But anyway, back to the hospital. So the doctor comes and is like, oh, you should go collect their belongings from the paramedics. So the wife goes up to the front, get the bag of belongings that the paramedics recovered from the scene. And right on the top, what do you think there was? There was some lingerie, lace, panties. Lace panties are not the panties that you would choose if you were going to climb up the mountain and be booty sweating. So she storms back to the patient ward, takes the bag, and throws it at her husband's face. Girl, this scene was so funny. Me and my husband laughed so hard and we watched that scene 3 times. But anywho, so they go back home and then she lays it on him. 어떻게 나한테 이래? 어떻게 이렇게 patient 할 수 있겠어? So then John was like, it was a mistake. You know, it was just a one-time thing. Like, 한 번만 봐주세요. Like, just forgive me one time. Jane was like, so those scratches you had on your back that day, they were from her? He's like, no, I swear that day I really was catching rabbits. And so I fell and scraped my back. It was just the one time. But Jane is not a fool. She was like, okay, I don't believe him for one bit. Okay, I need to do my own investigations. That's right, girl. So she called Haiti the harlot to ask her to come meet her at a cafe. So Jane asked Haiti the harlot, how many times did you meet him? Haiti's like, just once. I told you on the phone. 너랑 내 남편이 모텔에서 죽은 증거가 우리 집 냉장고에 쌓여 있는데 자꾸 빨대 말래? Your fingers were probably the ones that was scratching up on my husband's back. She was really obsessed with those fingernail scratches. I mean, I would be too because it's like solid evidence that something happened. 나 보러 일부러 남겼니? The scratches. Haiti the harlot's like, what? Jane's like, is this funny? Let's see if you laughing when I take you to court and sue your ass. Because remember in Korea, if someone's cheating and they knew that you had a partner, you could sue them for a lot of money, like upwards of like $30,000. But Haiti the harlot's like, what? Why me? Why are you gonna sue me? There's so many worse women than me. So Jane was like, what are you talking about? 내 남편이랑 바람 피운 여자가 너 밖에 더 있니? 네, 있어요. There are women worse than me, so why am I the one that has to get sued? I only was with your husband 3 times, but this other girl has been with him for 3 years. Jane was like, I'm sorry, 3 years? So Haiti the harlot was like, okay, if I tell you everything, will you just not sue me, please? So Jane's like, okay, whatever. And Haiti tells us the other harlot's name, Peg Song-hee. She's the woman who sells the health juice that the wife buys every month so that she could support this person because she was just so nice to her. Snakes be all up in your face. So we have Haiti the harlot, Song-hee the harlot. Let's just call them Harlot 1 and Harlot 2. But then Harlot 1 just says, I only joined the hiking group because I wanted to promote my leggings. That's it. But this other girl, Harlot number 2, she's the devil. So Haiti the harlot says the first trip that she went on with the group, she thought was just going to be a normal hiking trip. But the group only went up a little bit into the mountain. And then they all took a group photo together. And then everyone just was like, okay. And then they split up. And then Haiti's like, wait, are we not going to go up to the top of the mountain? Because that's what I came here for, to go up on the mountain so I could get pictures of the leggings. And then everybody was like, girl, no. Harlot number 1 just goes up the mountain, and then as she's coming down, she sees John, the husband, and harlot number 2, like all buddy-buddy coming out of some bushes somewhere. And she confronts him and is like, oh, you cheating with harlot number 2? So she tells Jane that her husband is a rabbit and hunter couple with harlot number 2. Harlot number 2 is a santoki, which means mountain rabbit. So if you remember, her husband, when he had the scratches on his back, he told his wife that he got them because he was hunting rabbit. So rabbits was like not real rabbits, it was harlots. 사냥꾼 is hunter, and that's how they call the couple, mountain rabbit and hunter. So then harlot number 1 goes on to tell Jane she gets like $1,000 to $2,000 a month. People in these groups, like when the men and women meet, after they do the deed, the men will give them gifts. Some of them get monthly allowances. Somebody's even been gifted a car. Depending on how long you've been meeting a man, depends on what kind of gifts you can get. It has to be at least a year of regularly meeting and presumably sleeping with this man for you in order to start getting thousands of dollars. Every group is slightly different on the type of levels they have, but apparently it's like entry level. How many times have you slept with this man? You get these rewards. Move up to tier 2 if you sleep with them this many times. So the levels might be different, but how you find a person apparently is the same. And that is, if you are a man and you're looking for somebody, what you do is you take your pants leg and you roll it up, just one of them. And if you're a woman, then you stand at the bottom of the mountain holding a bag of sweet potatoes. Never good. So I carry a bag of sweet potatoes with me everywhere. That would be my dumb ass going hiking. Just like standing there eating sweet potatoes and getting approached by people. If you see me with sweet potatoes on a mountain, I ain't cheating. It's because they're my snack of choice. So of course Jane was upset. She went home, she goes in the fridge, she sees all of these drinks and knows that they came from Love Motels, because typically after they come down from the mountain, then they'll go into like a motel or something if they want to do the full-on deed. So every drink in the fridge symbolizes a time where your husband was disrespectful and being a bastard in the fridge, and she has been drinking these drinks. She has been eating the sweet potatoes in the bag that was left over from her husband's hiking trips because she just didn't want to throw them away, and sweet potatoes are freaking delicious. She's been eating harlot potatoes. And then also that she's been ordering these health juices from harlot number 2. But Jane is not a weakling. She gets on her ninja suit and she becomes stealthy, and she's like, I'm gonna find his ass. And then presumably like get evidence, because again, in Korea, if you want a divorce, you gotta have the evidence of the cheating. So when she drops them off at the mountain, she sort of follows them back to a particular hotel, sort of waits a little bit for them to do the do, and then she calls him and then listens for his voice to find their hotel room. And then when he opens the door to leave, she's like, hey, for somebody who's a hunter, you sure didn't know that I was hanging out over here following you. And then John has the gall to lie. John says, nothing happened. After hiking, harlot number 2 was just a little bit tired. She said she was feeling dizzy, so I got this room so she could rest. Do you really think somebody's gonna believe that? Like, she could rest by herself. Like, if you wanted to be nice, you could pay for the motel room for her and then not be there this whole time, Because Love Motels, you can rent them just for like an hour. Mama ain't raised no fool. So she takes the little trash can by the bed, dumps it out, and there's tissues and condom falling out. And so she's like, why the tissues and condoms in there, huh? You've been giving her money and all this stuff. And then the husband's like, oh, it must be because Haiti, harlot number 1 must have told you that. Don't believe anything she says. And Jane is like, even in this situation, you're still lying. 내가 가만 안 둘 거야. So harlot number 2 is like, 가만 안 두면 어떨 건데? Jane is like, yeah! Harlot number 2, 뭐? 내가 너보다 1살 더 많아. 어디서 함부로 야래? And then she goes on to say, I might have brought the sweet potatoes to the mountain, but your husband was the one who had his pant leg rolled up. Why is it that women like you always blame the woman and not their husband? I have to do this to survive. This is how I get money. I sell the expensive things that the people have got me. I take the money. I live. What? I'm not the one that has a spouse and kid. Your husband is. He's the one in the wrong. And then harlot number 2 just left. I ain't doing nothing wrong. Well, I do think in a situation like this, obviously the husband is a lot more at fault because he's the one who's willing to cheat. And he's the one that manages that group, which means he's the one that started that group. So she ain't lying. She's still in the wrong too. But anyway, she didn't apologize or anything. This woman, she's just like, what? This is how I make my living. Sell my health juice. Bye. So Jane goes and submits all the paperwork and stuff to start the process of suing harlot number 2 for being a harlot. But then harlot number 2 gets all the paperwork in the mail, calls up Jane and is like, hey, what is this? You're suing me for 30 million won. It's about maybe 25,000 US dollars. They've been investigating me and talking to all of my customers and stuff. Like, I've lost clients because of this. You need to cancel the lawsuit now. But Jane was like, I don't know. If you come over, get on your knees and apologize, then maybe I'll think about canceling it or lowering the amount that I'm suing you for. But harlot number 2 said, I'm gonna get my revenge on Jane. So harlot number 2 was also working in stealth. So her husband gets a phone call and he's freaking out. He gets off the phone and he tells his wife, hey, you need to cancel that lawsuit. He was the one who manages the club, and all of the clients that he got for his business are actually people that attend that club. So what harlot number 2 did was she went and disclosed all the information. So one of his business partners had called him to tell him that his wife knows everything about the club now. And he's like, this club isn't safe. I'm gonna cancel all of our business contracts. Don't even call me or talk to me. So the husband's freaking out. John, he's like, how are we gonna pay for our daughter's school? You want her to get into this good school and to go to these schools? Like, what you need to do, okay? Because you're messing with my business. 소송 취하하고 소희한테 사과해. I'm sorry. The husband wants her to not only cancel the lawsuit, but to go to harlot number 2 and to apologize for sending the lawsuit to her. Because apparently some of those people he did meet through harlot number 2. Lay down your pride, fix this right now. But then Jane is like, you could just start again. Like, come on. But he's like, no, he's pressuring her to cancel the lawsuit and to apologize to harlot number 2. And that is all they gave us in this story. The only irritating thing about this show is we don't know how the situation is. So it's been like 6 months since it happened. So I'm sure somewhere out there, there's an answer, but we'll never know. knowing Jane, like just based off of what I got here, I think she probably would continue with the lawsuit and probably get a divorce because who wants to live like that? And then also it's like he's worried that he's going to lose all of his business, but it's like you shouldn't have built your business on immorality, especially on something like that, because I'm like, you have to know if you're doing nefarious things, eventually it will get found out. So if it wasn't your wife, maybe it would have been one of the other business partners' wife that exposed the group. You know what I mean? Like, I think he needs to get it together and then build a proper business, not based on glorified prostitution, basically. So what would you do if you were Jane? Probably like me, you would sue, get a divorce, take half of whatever he have left, and then move on, because that man has no morals. Not only do you just have this club for your own enjoyment, but you've based your business off of that, and that's how you find clients. That just wasn't that smart. Lies and secrets will always be exposed, I say. But I guess trash just find trash. And I guess the upstanding business partner probably wouldn't want him, right? Because they can see he's a trash. But anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed that video. Just a little dose of interesting drama and finding out the ways that people create things to do bad things. I don't know. I feel like anything done in secret, like creative people will figure out a way to make something happen from it. But anyway, if there are any other interesting things that you've heard about or topics that you want me to cover, let me know down below. If you like this video and you'd like to see more videos, please subscribe to my YouTube page, which is down below. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, like me on Facebook, and I will see ya.